Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of Pardon Our Picks special edition. We have everybody on here with us, and of course, perfection is a work in progress. I'm your host, Sam. Alongside me, of course, your esteemed co-host, Tarik. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I'm ready for some more exciting playoffs. How about you, Sam?
I'm doing great. Of course, we have our guest stars for the year on with us. Jessica, the QB queen. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We have Brady, the statistician magician,
What's up, guys?
and our ball hawking strong safety Tommy. How you doing tonight?
Good. How's everybody else?
Doing well, bud.
Doing good. Of course, this video is brought to you by Morningwood Crafter, morningwoodcrafter.com, inspired by design, crafted by hand. Now, the first week is finished. Some really exciting games happened last week. I mean, the Browns, I know some of you guys saw that coming, but it was still the way it came. How shocking was that? Jessica, what do you think?
It wasn't as shocking as a lot of other people might have felt. I expected Ben to look really bad, and I knew that the Steelers were going to really have to rely on him for that game. But Baker did really well. Kareem Hunt did really well. Nick Chubb. So as long as they keep that rolling, they've got something going for them.
I agree. I mean, I wasn't surprised at all. And if you go back and watch the last video that I was on, I did say they were going to be a first-round bounce. And from the first snap of the game, it became evident that the Steelers, something happened around week 10 where they just kind of fell off and they couldn't put it back together, whether it was the lack of the run game or anything like that. But I think Baker and the Browns are going to be a tough out this week.
Yeah, I agree. I was one of the ones that picked Browns to win. I did not expect the Steelers to really do anything. It took their second strings to do anything in the last week of the season, and so everyone's pretty much said everything that I think it's. I don't know how far they'll go. All the other teams that are left in are really good, I think, in the AFC. So we'll see how far and can they beat the Chiefs? I don't think so, but we'll get into that obviously when Sam says we can. But yeah.
Yeah, the Steelers, after they beat the Ravens rather pathetically, it was all downhill from there after they lost to the Skins, and I don't think they won a game since then. Ben just the spark was gone, and I didn't pick the Browns to win because I thought without a head coach even being there, they didn't really have a shot. But they have a chance to get on a roll. The question will be how much playoff experience matters for them versus the Chiefs.
Quite frankly, the fact that they went up so big and then almost completely squandered their lead is totally a Browns thing to do. Quite frankly, I watched that game. Unfortunately, I had to get up early the next morning, but I watched it anyway because it was exciting towards the end. They got within 12 points. The Steelers did. Ben Roethlisberger, he looked like crap the first half of the game and refused to fall on his own fumble. But he almost brought him back. I don't know how much Ben's got left in the tank, and quite frankly, I think maybe next year. Maybe his last. I don't think he'll let this year be his last. He might have a Brett Favre final year where he's just falls off. But it was a really exciting game. And I'm glad the Browns won, even though I didn't pick them. So speaking of picks, let's see how we did last week. And look at that. Jessica and Brady at 5-1. Of course, there were the upsets, and both of you lost on different games, but that's pretty impressive. Me and Tarik at 4-2. Tommy still within striking distance at 3-3. So it's still.
I really hope, Jess, that we're laughing at the same thing, that Sam's picture.
Oh no, I was laughing at my picture and your picture, and I mean Sam just picked the worst
Yeah,
pictures.
Sam picked. I believe that was junior prom, Brady. So we're talking 11 years ago.
I went through your Facebooks and picked random pictures. Quite frankly, Jessica, your other picture was much worse. It had your forehead
It was so
elongated.
stretched out. It was so
Yes.
stretched out, Jess.
Okay.
So yeah, this one's actually better for me because it's not. And obviously I trimmed my beard from last week, but the other one had us at disc golf with my beard like reaching out to the heavens. So this one's a little better.
Which caused all kinds of problems for me when I went to put the pictures on there because his beard was so long, the picture had to be longer.
Yes.
So it was
Yes.
a long, thin photo.
I approve this message.
All right, let's look at the games we have this week. We've got the Browns playing the Chiefs, number 1 seed against the 6th seed in both sides, Packers against the Rams, and a 2-5 matchup as well. On the other side, the Bills against the Ravens, the Saints against the Buccaneers. Oh, these are going to be some really good games. We're going to start with the AFC, where we have the Chiefs and Browns, one we started talking about earlier today. Jess, what do you got in this game?
So I am taking the Chiefs in this game, but I don't think it's going to be I think it's going to be a good game, maybe down to at least the last quarter. They're not going to run away with it. I think as long as Cleveland sticks to a heavy run game and they air it out here and there with Baker, I think he can surprise everyone and do really well. But I think the Chiefs are going to have a hard time defending against the run for the Browns.
I agree with everything that Jess said, except for her pick. I picked the Browns in this game because of that run game.
I almost did, yeah.
But yeah, I think this two-headed attack where they somehow convinced 2 starting running backs to play complement to each other is really going to be their key to winning this game. You know, Patrick Mahomes is, the next great thing. He is the next great thing at quarterback. But their really lack of ability to run the ball down the stretch, and many of that being to Clyde Edwards-Helaire being out. But with his ankles being taped, as we've seen in practice photos and things like that, I still don't think they're going to run the ball that well. A key matchup to watch this week, though, is going to be Denzel Ward, a cornerback for the Browns, against Tarik Hill. The last time they played, he held Tarik Hill to 4 catches for like 36 yards, I believe. But he is coming off the COVID list. So I think this is going to be a very good game. I think the Browns are going to squeak this one out with a last-second field goal, and they're going to make it to the AFC Championship game.
Bold pick,
Yeah, there you go.
See how it works out for me.
If you don't go for the upsets, you don't win. That's how I won the regular season. Not that I'm patting myself on the back or anything.
But go ahead.
Yeah, there we go. So I agree with points both Brady and Jess made here. I picked the Chiefs. I think what's going to win out with this a lot, and it's something we've already mentioned, is experience. You got the Chiefs who went all the way, won the Super Bowl, defending champs. They've dominated pretty much all season. They made it to the number 1 seed. They're doing really well. They know what to do at this point. I think it's going to be close. I agree that it's going to be close. I think it's going to come down to the wire. I just think the Browns just don't quite have that edge to push it over. I see it might. I'm not going to be shocked if they do, but I think the Chiefs just have a little bit of that edge coming into this.
You know what that edge would be? That might be Andy Reid. I mean, he is the best, so.
Yeah, it's going to be I think we all kind of agree. It's just depends on who's going to get the ball in the last quarter. Experience is going to be the big factor. It's also, I think, the Chiefs haven't been playing that great of football lately. And if they stay in that little funk, if Mahomes is off just that little bit, will the Browns be able to come back and capitalize on it? I don't think so. I think the Chiefs hold it out, but I think this is going to be the best game of the weekend.
Ooh.
You know, I gotta disagree with all of you on all of your points of this being really close game. Not, and hear me out now. The Chiefs, throughout the entire season, most of their wins were within a touchdown, 2 scores. They were all pretty close wins. It almost seemed like Mahomes was kind of bored. Like, he knew he could beat these people, and he just didn't care as much. He's in the playoffs right now. They had a bye week. They're ready to roll. This team is going to put up big numbers, and I think that the Browns, after the first week, after that high of beating the Steelers and going up real big, yeah, they're going to show some things, but I think that the Chiefs are just going to go 8-poop all over them. So I think it's going to be at least a 2-score deficit for the Browns at the end of this game. Chiefs for me. And we'll move on to what I think is one of the more intriguing matchups. 2 teams that are really interesting, really close in their current makeup. Running quarterbacks, pretty good defenses. I mean, they complement each other pretty well. The Buffalo Bills at home against the Ravens. Jessica.
Well, I am definitely going with Baltimore here. I'm sure that's not a surprise. But this is going to be a really good game. We do have 2 of the top offenses right now going head to head. The Baltimore defense has really stepped up lately, and they are going to need to get some turnovers in this game for it to be for them to really win out. But Harbaugh's record on the road for playoff wins, I think, is the highest of any head coach. So there's that we got in the bag. But they also are replacing, they have to have, Zach Moss. Singletary's taking over for him, and he hasn't really looked too good in the past. So I think one of the things that Baltimore's going to do very well is cover with their corners. We're going to cover them really well. Unlike Indy played a little bit far off, trying not to give up the big plays, which obviously didn't pay off. But Baltimore's going to have to really shut down that Allen-Diggs combo for this to be a good game for Baltimore. But I am going with Baltimore here.
I agree with Jess, which is going to be a surprise to some of you, saying that the Bills were my Super Bowl winning pick. But after that showing last week against the Colts, where the Colts were able to gain over 150 yards rushing with their 2 running backs, I think that kind of exposed some things for the Bills that they're going to have to try and cover up. But given that we don't have 2 running backs, we have 2 running backs and a quarterback who can also run. I think that Baltimore is going to put up over 200 yards rushing and really control the pace of this game to where Allen's going to be forced to make some throws he wouldn't if the game were closer or if he had more time. And like Jess mentioned, being out Zach Moss and someone who drafted Devin Singletary in 4 fantasy leagues this year, expecting a big year out of him. He did not do well this year. I don't even think he eclipsed 1,000 yards. And given this offense, they're pass heavy. And yes, while that is extremely dangerous, especially with Stephon Diggs, I still don't think they're going to have enough time on the clock with Baltimore's ability to run 5, 6, 7 minutes off of the clock with every drive. So I think this is gonna be the game of the week right here, especially with the respect coming out of both camps in this team. But I think Baltimore wins this by 6.
All right, so yeah, I'm going with Baltimore as well. Looking at this, you got Lamar Jackson, he's proving he can overcome some of his deficits, some of the things that we see lacking. He's worked on his stuff. You got Josh Allen, arguably the best quarterback in his class. He's one up and coming. He's doing really well. I think, to me, one of the deciding factors is how many weapons you have. You said the Bills are very pass heavy. The Ravens can pass. The Ravens can run. You don't know which way they're going to run. If Lamar can spread out who he's throwing to, he tends to go to Andrews a lot. But if he can spread it out and get Hollywood in there like he's done a couple times, it's going to keep this team guessing, and they're not going to know what to defend, as opposed to let's just keep it kind of in the zone and make sure he can't throw too deep. So I'm going with Baltimore on this.
We'll make it 4 for 4. Usually the football games won in the fourth quarter, but I think the first quarter, outside of last week for Baltimore, determines the pace of the game. If they can get 10 points or so in the first 2 drives, that changes the whole pace of the game. And then you have 250 yards on the ground between the 3 running backs. And then if he can spread the ball out, like you said, Tarik, I don't see how the Browns or the Bills keep up with the Ravens run game. Allen's going to have a decent day because he can do both. But I don't see it being that close of a game.
Can we make it 5 for 5, Sammy? Who's going to win, Buffalo or Baltimore? Hey, Buffalo?
Mario.
No, you say Buffalo?
I didn't say Buffalo.
Who's going to win, Buffalo or Baltimore?
Buffalo.
Buffalo! You know, he's right.
Wrong,
That's what I
Sammy.
have fixed. So,
Brainwashing.
to be honest, I haven't asked him this question before. So that was spur of the moment since he was down here. I have Buffalo winning this game. Which is weird because usually it's Brady that's picking the teams that nobody else is picking.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like you saw all our picks, and then you're just like, I'm going to pick the other one.
I've had Buffalo for a while. Jessica can attest to this. I did mention, and I thought Buffalo was going to win this game. So Baltimore, the first game, they played Tennessee. Tennessee, good team, real good team. Baltimore had something to prove. They went in there. They went into Tennessee. It was a team that disrespected them, all that, and they still only put up 20 points against a defense that hasn't been great. They've allowed a lot of points to a lot of the teams. Now, Baltimore was trying to get their very first win in the playoffs, and they were playing a team that had beaten them twice before. So I figured that Baltimore would have put up more points against a team that they really wanted to beat, and they didn't do it. I don't know that a defense like that they can overcome. And Buffalo's defense is similar to the Titans, except it's a little better. Now, Buffalo can also put up those points. They can throw the ball. They can run the ball. They got a lot of options when they go to attack you. So I think it's going to be really hard for Baltimore to win this game in that respect. But I think it is going to be an exciting game. I think you're looking at a fourth quarter comeback for the Ravens, but it's going to fall short. So, all right, let's move on to the NFC side where we have the Packers going against the Los Angeles Rams. Surprising, their starting quarterback last week wasn't even Jared Goff. It was Wofford, who's out this week. Goff is your starter this week. Jess, can the Rams pull another upset?
So I do not have them pulling an upset here, and I did not have them last week either. That's the one that I did get wrong, even with my assumption that Goff was going to play. So I do think this is going to be a great game, though. Jalen Ramsey on Devontae Adams, that's going to be awesome to watch. I mean, Devontae Adams is unstoppable, but Jalen Ramsey, if anybody can stop him, it's going to be him. And I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. The Rams are letting up the least amount of points per game average, and the Green Bay Packers are scoring the most per game on average. So we'll see how that plays out. But I definitely don't think that the Rams offense is going to be able to keep up with what they need to do. So I am going to go with Green Bay, and I don't think it's going to be super close. Maybe
I'm going to
or more.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say the Rams are going to pull this upset. And as just mentioned, Jalen Ramsey on Devontae Adams is going to be very fun to watch. But Aaron Donald against a decimated Packers offensive line, I think he is going to feast all day. He's going to help stop the run game of Aaron Jones. He's going to sack Aaron Rodgers many a times. I think this game's going to be a lot closer than those statements led to, because it is Aaron Rodgers and it is the Rams. But I think the Rams' ability to run the ball this year has really made them almost had a resurgence after the fall off of last year. So I really look for this game to be interesting in ways that we may not be able to predict, whether it be, a flea flicker down late from Sean McVay calling it in or something like that. But I think the Rams are going to do what they need to, and they're going to come away with this victory.
All right, yeah. So I'm looking at this. I agree. I think it's going to be close, but I'm going with Packers, and part of this is again I'm going with experience. You got a few more veterans on one side. The Rams have slowly been coming up over the years, so they're looking better since the move to LA. But yeah, I just think Rodgers. I know they're not all healthy. They haven't looked as great later in the season. But I just think like the veterans, they kind of know a little bit more about what they want to do. I think Aaron Rodgers might be like they drafted a quarterback. I think he's out to prove something, kind of like Brett Favre did on his way out. So we'll see. But I agree it's going to be close. But I'm going with Green Bay. Tommy?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Green Bay too. I don't trust the Rams offense. I like their defense, but this point in the playoffs, it's hard to go against Rodgers and that offense.
Rodgers.
So yeah, I'm gonna stick with the Packers, but it's gonna be close. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout.
The number one defense going against the number one offense. Jessica pointed that out. And the Rams have allowed the least amount of points and yards to opposing defenses. Now, the Packers have struggled a couple of times during the season against good defenses. It's looked like they look pedestrian against a couple of teams this year. But given that it's Brett Favre, not anymore, it's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Donald may be back as a starter. They did kind of replace him the last couple of weeks of the season, so we don't know who's going to be the number one person there. Aaron Donald, of course, on the Rams side, he did have the rib injury. He should be good to go for this week, and yes, he's going to cause all kinds of problems for the Packers. I see this as a low-scoring game, kind of like the previous game for the Rams, but I just don't think that they have enough to beat the Packers in this game. I got the Packers winning in a close one, and it's going to be kind of a boring game, like the Rams game was last week. And finally, we come to the Brady Bowl. The Saints at home against the Buccaneers. Can the Saints beat the Buccaneers for the third time this year, Jess?
Yes, they can. I think last week the Saints didn't look their best, but obviously they still pulled out the win. I think as long as Kamara gets at least 20 touches and they continue that, using him with the screen passes and not just in the backfield, that seems to be working out really well for them. And I think that the New Orleans Saints are just a more well-rounded team. They are top 5 for offense and defense. And I just think that they'll find a way to win this with the hype of Drew Brees ending his career soon. I mean, I know Tom Brady's nearing the end of his career at some point, but at the end of the day, I think New Orleans has way more going for it than Tampa Bay does.
This is the game that really held me up on my picks this week because the Saints for the first couple quarters looked very pedestrian against the Bears, and the Buccaneers looked very pedestrian against the Washington football team for the entire game. So I didn't know which way to go, but ultimately I settled on the Buccaneers only because it's Tom Brady, it's the playoffs, and there's always something with him once it gets to these colder weather months, even though it's not going to be played in cold weather environment, that he just somehow he finds that extra gear that for some reason he was born with and 90% of other NFL quarterbacks aren't. And he's going to wind up having an amazing game, probably over 400 yards passing. And I think the Bucs are they're going to beat the Saints pretty handily.
All right, so big question: Saints or the Tom Brady's? Well, as usual, I hate Tom Brady. As a former Colts and a Denver fan, I hate Tom Brady. But I've been using the word what's the word I've been using all year to describe him? Mortal, but apparently the word of the day is pedestrian. So so Tom Brady has looked more pedestrian this year. He hasn't. I believe he's an elite quarterback, but he's shown that he isn't quite what he is without all those tools that Belichick has put him in. Yes, he's got more experience in this than anybody else, and I've made that point. So I think it's going to be close, but I'm going with the Saints. I don't think that, as I said, the tools aren't all quite there for Tom Brady. Can Tom Brady carry the team through this the way that quarterbacks in the past, like Peyton Manning, have done? I don't know that he can through this with a team as good as the Saints, as well-rounded as Jess put out. So I'm going to go with the Saints on this one. I think they just got a little bit more tools to get the job done here.
The old man bowl, who is going to look more old. So far, Drew Brees has looked more old.
He's got a punctured lung.
That makes you look old. It just Tom Brady, unfortunately, has a better record in the playoffs than Drew Brees. Drew seems to find a new way to lose every year. And I don't think this year is going to be different. I think Brady has enough weapons with Brown and everybody else that he's going to find a way to do what he does best and pull it out and move on.
What's funny is you look on the AFC side and you look to see the age of every quarterback. Baker Mayfield is the oldest quarterback on the AFC side still in the playoffs at 25 years old.
Thank you for making me feel old.
Yeah. The oldest quarterbacks in the NFC right now are Drew Brees and Tom Brady. Tom Brady, of course, last week setting the record for the oldest quarterback to ever throw a touchdown pass in the playoffs, surpassing Mel Blount of Raiders fame back in the early 70s. Another little stat there, throwing the stats.
He was in his 70s?
I'm letting Sam have this week.
Yeah.
Would you say, Tommy?
So he threw a touchdown in his 70s?
No, early 70s. The early 1970s.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes, he was 43 years old. So was Tom Brady, just a couple months older than he was. Of course, it is hard to have a better record than Tom Brady when you've been in 43 playoff games. So, but
Tim Tebow has a 100% playoff record.
No, he doesn't. He lost in the playoffs.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a 100% loss then.
He never won a Super Bowl, so he must have lost.
Now he's playing baseball. So
I think he has a 500 record in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yes. Given all that information, of course, the Buccaneers, they got a pretty good defense, and they both looked pretty slow last week against the teams they're playing. And they were playing pretty good defenses. Unfortunately, and the Buccaneers, the final week of the season, with really nothing to play for, they put up big numbers. The Saints, they put up big numbers too. So this is a really tough game to pick. Both of these guys, yes, they're just about on their way out. I think Brees is out after this year. I don't know. I don't think he comes back after if he loses this game or wins this game. Quite frankly, it's been a pretty good run for both of them. But saying all that, I have the Buccaneers winning this one. It's going to be a fun game to watch because they're both just going to go all out, and they're legends. So, it's always fun to watch a legend play. All right, let's take a look at where our picks have put us, and of course, you can see where you've been with some of the other picks the previous weeks. I think this paints an interesting picture here. All these beautiful faces staring back at us.
Kind of creepy, honestly.
A little bit. But, of course.
You put me on the wrong game.
Did I?
I didn't pick the Rams.
Oh, no. My bad. See, I knew I was going to make a mistake somewhere, and there it is, folks. There it is. Oh, man. All right. Well, it's going to be an exciting week, guys. I really look forward to it. So let's get to it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you very much to our guests, Jessica, Brady, Tommy. Thank you very much for joining us. A lot of fun. Keep liking the videos. Let us know you liked it. Let us know who you think are going to win. Let us know who you think is going to win the Super Bowl. Subscribe so you know when we're going to have videos. We're trying to figure out what to do in the off season, possibly with other sports and stuff.
Baseball,
always,
baby.
Yeah. As always, I'm Tarik.
I'm Sam.
I'm Jessica.
I'm Brady.
I'm Tom.
And you have a great playoff football week.
Bye, guys.
See y'all at 4-0.